Hi guys, it's Pam from Cranberry Cottage, and this video is part 2 to the video that we did showing you the amazing casting resin, and we are going to do a 4-color painting technique. However, I'm going to change that just a little bit, and I am going to use Dixie Belle's Sea Spray, which is a texture additive. And what it does is it helps you create that chippy textured and weathered look. So you add it in. It's almost like kind of like a texture, and you squish it all over, let it dry, add other colors to it, and then you can sand it down, and it really gives you that very, very cool weathered look. So we're gonna do a couple of colors with the Sea Spray additive in it, and then one color without it. So give me a couple minutes so I can get set up, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so we're back. I've got my paint ready to go, and I didn't really need a whole lot of paint, so I just poured some into a bowl. This is the Dixie Belle Putty color. And then we're going to be adding the Sea Spray additive to it. And you don't have to add very much of this. Actually very, very little. So I'm just going to pour some in here. And then I'm going to mix it and see if it's the consistency that I want. I don't know, I'm sorry if you can't see that. So what we're trying to do is to give this paint some texture so that when we squish it on, we'll have some raised peaks and that. And then once it cures a little bit, then I'll go back and I'll take a little bit of a putty knife or a brush and just kind of knock those peaks down. And I think this is a pretty good consistency. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see that it's got a little bit of texture in it. It's pretty thick. So we'll try that and see how that works out. If we don't like it, we'll just add a little bit more. Okay, so I've got my wet Klingon, and I'm just going to dip it into here, and I'm going to take my piece, and we're going to just start smushing this kind of all over the place. Make sure that you get it on in the places that you want it to be. And you don't have to cover the whole thing. You just want texture in there, and I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. Because this is going to be covered with another color of paint also. The technique that you're trying to do is to make it look like it's been painted, and some of the paint has chipped off. So this is kind of what it looks like. It looks, it's hard to see, but there's little raised sections, peaks and valleys. It doesn't have to be completely covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on and put this all over this piece, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to show you how I just kind of go over it, knock down the color, and then we'll let this dry, and then we'll put on another color. Okay, I'll be back. Okay guys, so we're back and I've covered the whole piece. I'm gonna try to show you a little bit of an up close. So as you can see, there's a lot of texture to this piece. And that's by adding the Sea Spray texture additive. It's Dixie Belle product. So the look that I'm going for is a super duper layered chippy type of look that looks like this piece has been painted, I don't know, a bunch of times and the paint is coming off. So I've rinsed my brush out and there are some raised areas here, here, here. So all I do is I just kind of go over it a little tiny bit to knock some of that really super chunky stuff off of there. Just a light touch. Very lightly, I mean whisper light. Then I'm going to let this dry, and then we are going to add the second color, which is a green. It's the sea glass green. It's kind of hard to see it. Oh, these lights. And we'll add the texture additive to that also, and we'll put on another coat. We'll do less of a coat so it's not covered hardly at all. Then we'll let that dry, and then we will add our white color. So let me let this dry for a little bit, and in the last video you obviously didn't get to see me mix this with the texture additive, so I'm going to go ahead and show you again how to mix it. So we'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back. So I'm at the shop this afternoon by myself, so if I have to abruptly cut it short, it's because I need to get away for a customer. I'm really super lucky and really happy. We've actually hired a very sweet gal to come in and work the morning shift for 2 to 3 days a week so that I can actually stay home and do some painted furniture in the studio and get some things done for the shop at home. She is super sweet. Her name is Lori, and we're just really so excited to have her. So come on down and say hi to Lori when you get a chance. She'll take very good care of you. So in the last video, I didn't realize that you guys couldn't see how I was mixing this paint, so I'm gonna try to be a little bit better about that. So I don't have very much paint in this bowl. There's hardly any. You can barely see it, but it's hardly any. And I have a very small amount of the additive in this scoop. Actually, 2 of these scoops will do a full 8 ounces of paint. So what I do is I just get in there, grab some, and then I just start dumping some in. Some that what I think will work. You guys can see that. And then I have my trusty spoon, and I'm gonna start mixing it up. And it gives it quite a bit of texture. It makes it real pasty. And this is about the consistency that I like it. I like it a little thicker than maybe some people do. As you can see, it just barely comes off the spoon. It's kind of chunky. Almost reminds you of toothpaste, super thick toothpaste. Okay, so there it is. I've got my handy dandy Klingon brush again. I'm using my Shorty and I love it. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on and do the same thing that I did with the other coat. And we are just going to smush some on. And we're going to do less of this coat than what we did before. So we're not going to cover as much. I think you can see that. try to get it down around your castings. It's not going to really matter because once we dry brush the white on there, and there's no rhyme or reason to how you do it. And what I do is I kind of step back, take a look at it and see how uniform it looks. If it's too uniform, then I'll slop some more paint on it. It's kind of just personal preference. At this point, there really isn't a true technique. You're just kind of looking to see what you like, and then you continue on. It's only paint. You can paint over it if you don't like it. So I'm going to continue on, and then I'll be back to show you the final step as far as painting. And then we'll have to let this all dry, and then I will show you the sanding and the colored waxes to make it look gold. Okay, we'll be back. Okay guys, so we're back. So this is my finished look. It's got a lot of little peaks and valleys on it. And it is actually, when you touch it, it's still cool to the touch. So, which means that it's not completely dry. And I kind of like that, because then after I put my white on, then I can start scraping some paint off and pulling some paint off. It's kind of a cool technique. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the white on, which is Dixie Belle's Fluff. And then I'm just going to take my little shorty. It's wet again, it's been cleaned out. And I'm going to start brushing over the top of this. And there's no rhyme, no reason. Just gonna paint over the top of it. I'll cover some super thick, and I will cover some not so thick. Okay, so you can kind of see the chunks. I am kind of deliberately leaving some of the paint off in certain areas. And this does not have to be perfect, okay? That's not what this technique is about. It's about being imperfect. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay guys, sorry, I'm back. I had a customer come into the store, so I had to abruptly leave, but I'm back. So anyways, this technique is not a perfect technique. This is an imperfect technique. You're trying to achieve that old chippy weathered look. I do a lot of cross hatching. I'll do a lot of stippling. So as you can see, and it's hard, I know, it's just kind of imperfect. You don't even have to get up around the edges of these. When we start antiquing, all of this will all fill in with the darker antiquing, and it makes it just look really, really super old. Okay, so as you can see, that's about as much coverage as I want. So I'm going to continue around this piece and then we'll be back. Okay guys, so we're back. So this is dried or is dry enough that I can start sanding on it. Now I've already sanded on a couple of parts of it. I know it's really, really hard to see it because of the lights. There we go. Maybe you can see it. So we have sanded this. If you were here, you could feel all of the texture. You could see all of the clumping of the paint. It just gives it this really, really old textured feel, like it's been painted 10 different times and then let be to weather over the years. So all I do is I've got a sanding block. I just go over it, sand it, knock down some of the stuff. The inside will be sanded down. And then I'm gonna do a couple of other techniques. I've already been thinking about what I'm gonna do, and I'll show you how to do those. But once this is dried, your final coat has dried, go over it with your sanding block, get it the way that you want it. If it's not the way you want it, you can either add paint to it, take more paint off, even take like a paint scraper and scrape some of the paint off. Don't limit yourself. Think outside the box on some of this stuff. I know everybody's great about watching YouTube videos and watching the how-tos, but don't limit yourself to just what they're telling you. Think outside the box. Paint scrapers, putty knives. You can make things look really, really old with stuff like that. So I'm going to continue sanding this. I don't think you need to watch me sand for 20 minutes. And then I'm going to show you a couple of other little things that I'm going to do to kind of make this look old and weathered and even a little bit more grungy. Okay. Hi guys, it's Pam from Cranberry Cottage. Good morning. I'm here at the shop early this morning. So to continue on with our piece, I went ahead and sanded this all down and scraped some of the edges. It's really hard to see, I know, because of the lights. And this piece looks like it has been painted a bunch of times and weathered, and it's actually going very well. It's kind of the look that I was looking for, but it needed a little bit of something. And so I am also doing a technique that I love to do on some of my furniture. I have my handy dandy misty spray bottle, does a real fine mist. I have some of the putty paint. I use some of the mud puddle paint, which was the darkest color that we put on this piece. So what I'm doing is I'm taking and I'm misting this piece. Then I have just a craft brush and a bowl of paint. I'm just dipping the very ends into it. And I'm kind of doing just a wash on this piece where I kind of want some highlight color. You can see that. Then I take my spray again and I just spray over it. Now I have my handy dandy wipe. And I just kind of meld it around. So what that does is it gives you a hint of grunge without having to use the dark wax. And then once this all dries, I will go back through, I will clear wax this, and then I may hit it again with some dark wax and some colored waxes. So just so you know, okay, so we're misting this, a very fine mist. I have my craft brush, just barely dipping it into the paint, very little paint. And then I'm just kind of where I think maybe we need some color to add some depth and some warmth. I'm putting it on there. Then I am misting it again. Then I have my wipe, and I'm just kind of going and dapping off just a little tiny bit. And then I'm leaving the rest on there. And then I'll let that all dry. And I'll probably let it dry for a couple hours because the water actually will get into the paint and kind of reactivate the paint. So we'll let it dry for a couple hours. Then I'll put some clear wax on it, and we'll do some dark waxing to kind of give it an antique look, and then it'll be done. So we'll be back. Okay guys, so we're back. I got this finished up, got it top coated, and then I started putting on the dark wax. And I'm only putting the dark wax on in certain areas because I want it to look like it's been worn and old, and fingers and oils from cleaning have gotten this piece pretty grungy. So I use a little bit of it's a small stencil brush, and it's one of the cheap ones you can buy. I think I got this one at Walmart. I dip it into my dark wax. I take a paper towel and I wipe off the excess, and then I just go along the edge here, and I just work it until I get the desired effect. It's not a hard process. The biggest thing is that you wipe off the excess wax, because you don't want a ton of dark wax in one area. I just want this to be kind of subtle. It's kind of hard to see. There we go. So you can see this area here, inside in the corners. Let's see if we can get it a little bit better. So you can see like in the corners where there might be some dirt and shadows. So that's kind of where I put all of my dark wax. Down at the bottom, on the corners. Just gives it a little bit of added warmth, a little bit of added wear, and it makes it actually look like it could actually be a very old piece, even though we just painted it today and yesterday. So if you guys have any questions, just put it in the comments below. Also, give us a thumbs up, share, like our page, and we will talk to you soon.